Druid versus the Warrior, and it is not even going to be the Warrior we thought it would be, unless all of a sudden Patron Warrior decided to run Ysera and Sylvanas and Grommash. I'd be very surprised to see if that was the case.
We can be safely say, just based on the starting hand, that this is not going to be Patrons. Trump will be bringing that Control Warrior, and this is not a good matchup to start things off. He's going to be up against the Druid, and that's one of the worst matchups for Control Warrior, because there's simply not that much removal for those big minions, and Druid has plenty of time to just play the threats one by one.
At least on paper, although Reynad, I think we were talking about this yesterday, you feel like it's not as bad for Warrior against Druid these days. Why is that?
Oh, it really depends on which version of Warrior Trump is playing. Like, Control Warrior and Patron Warrior are both very powerful decks. One of the advantages of Patron is the stronger Druid matchup. You can get a lot of Patrons on board quickly. Trump's deck's not going to have that option, so he's going to need to draw the right removal in the right order. And the modern Warrior control decks are choosing to cut Acolyte of Pain here and there in favor of cards like Slam, Bash. And these are cards that are really good at killing Darnassus Aspirant.
Which is in the opening hand of Jab. He has both ways to ramp too, which is very good access for Jab to continue to hit some of his higher mana minions if he draws them. That's one of the drawbacks of having just ramp in the early game. Sometimes you get spells, sometimes you don't have a way to play anything beyond this Pilot Shredder.
Oh yeah, absolutely great starting hand from Jab. A little bit early for the Roar, but having both Wild Growth and an Aspirant, he's likely to go for the Wild Growth first, because the Fiery War Axe is a scary thing.
When you have coin and two of those ramp effects, you have so many options.
Yeah, with the coin though, like the Aspirant is just fine, because he will cast that Wild Growth next turn anyway. And Trump doesn't have an answer to that right now.
Right, it's a good backup option in case this Darnassus Aspirant dies, which, like you said, he's most likely going to Wild Growth anyways. He can play the Pilot Shredder on turn 3 instead of turn 4 because he gets that extra mana acceleration.
Regardless of if the Aspirant lives or not.
Not to mention, if he picks up a 3-mana minion, he plays that and the Darnassus Aspirant lives anyways.
But Trump pretty straight up slam here, nothing else to do. Well, picks up a Belcher. No weapon still. Definitely wants to find a weapon as soon as possible.
It's true, but it is important that you have things to play as Warrior. One of the worst feelings is if Druid gives you an opportunity to develop things on the board, you end up just hero power and passing. That's a terrible feeling as the Warrior.
Yeah, absolutely. That Acolyte's so good right here.
Absolutely. No Keeper of the Grove from Jab. That's going to be able to... Oh!
Wow, oh, that helps.
Yeah, so now he has 2 extra mana to pick up. That Innervate allows him for 7 mana effectively this turn. The Azure Drake plus the Wrath gives him some really good board development and dealing with the Acolyte without letting it draw 2 cards.
Yeah, the card-wise this is not so efficient. He's going to spend both the Innervate and the Wrath to deal with that Acolyte, which is going to draw the card anyway, so it's going to do for 0. But on the other hand, he gets the tempo and he just drew a card with the Drake. So he's in good shape. Yeah,
that tempo is so valuable to the Druid just because you care about what's on the board so much more than your resource advantage because you already have things like Savage Ore. You're going to try to leverage that to end the game before the Warrior can set up in the late game.
Trump's still looking for the weapon. Gets 2 draws at it and see if he finds it.
This is a matchup where the...
Oh, gets a weapon.
That's pretty huge.
Only deals 3 damage, but with the slam, he will be able to take out the Drake if he wants to. We'll see how he prioritizes here, because it's possible he wants to take that Mana Crystal away as well.
The thing about most Druid decks is they don't tend to play many 6-drops, sometimes just Emperor, sometimes just Sylvanas, sometimes neither. So you're not too worried about letting Aspirant stay alive this turn, because it's probably not going to change what Jab plays next turn.
Oh yeah,
so I expect him to take out Drake.
Only Emperor would be a 6-mana play, really. Most people have caught Sylvanas from the Druid nowadays.
However, on the other hand, 7 mana is a really big key. So killing the Darnassus Aspirant the following turn to deny your opponent the 7 mana turn is really big because then they can't play their Dr. Boom or the Ancient of Lore, or even if they're running Ancient of Wars, which isn't entirely uncommon in Druid decks these days.
Absolutely.
Second Fiery War Axe, a little redundant. You don't really need that for another 2 turns because you're going to be swinging with this one as well as the next turn.
I wouldn't be too shocked if he chose to take out the Aspirant here first, just to play around the Emperor a tiny bit, but 4-2, 2-1, it's good to kill the big minions first.
That's right, and there is that 7-mana Ancient of Lore that we just mentioned, which will draw more cards into the Druid, ultimately supplanting his resources to end the game. However, that's going to be on the high priority list for Trump to take out, and Jab has to manage whether or not he wants to protect it. Because normally you want to go for mana efficiency, Pilot Shredder allows you hero power, but the Druid Claw would be able to be played in taunt mode and protect that Darnassus Aspirant.
Yeah, that's a really surprising play.
That's very surprising. He could have protected the Aspirant here. Because now if the Aspirant gets killed, he won't be able to play the Ancient of Lore next time. We'll see how this works out. It is possible that Trump is going to use his Fire War Axe on the bigger minion anyway, but I mean, Druid is getting to 7 mana. How do you leave out the Aspirin?
Yeah, and that's going to be very inconvenient because now you are floating a mana with the Druid of the Claw. Unless you want to use your mana efficiently, but that ends up in awkward plays.
I feel like it would have worked out way better for Jab to maybe do it the other way around.
Shield block off the top allows him to gain some life and use that shield slam on the far left very effectively, which converts all of the armor that you get into direct damage onto a minion.
Now that's really powerful play here. Going for the shield block and getting an armor up afterwards to get up to 7 armor, which allows him to deal with that Druid of the Claw efficiently.
That's a pretty dominant board spot here for Trump to once again control it. Sludge Belcher challenges the Pilot Shredder, normally considered one of the best 4-mana minions in the game, but it gets stopped by this 5-mana taunt.
One of the best 5-mana minions in the game.
One of the best 5-mana. You know, I don't disagree.
Ancient Allure comes down. It's going to give Druid just enough resources to make sure to always have stuff to play in this game. This is a matchup that often drags out into the late game. It's important to hit cards like Ancient of Lore and Azure because if you don't, a lot of times you just run out of cards as the Druid.
Absolutely.
Things like Innervate, Tharnassus Aspirant, Wild Growth, they all are kind of low-impact cards where you sacrifice card advantage for tempo, so...
As a Druid, you usually hope to pick up just as many threats as possible, as many minions as possible. Getting those 5 drops, getting the 7 drops. And he has a decent hand here right now. 8 mana, he could play 2 minions, he could go for the Shade Belcher. He could go for some kind of Wrath play if he's too scared about the Sylvanas. Like, right now, the main focus is how to deal with that Sylvanas.
Right, without Keeper the Grove Silence, like you said, that Sylvanas will be looking to trade onto the board. And this is something, too, that is really clever to observe. Trump could have picked up a good trade by attacking into this, the Pilot Shredder, killing off the 4-3 for 3-5. That's usually pretty good, but by doing so, he kills off the Shredder and makes Sylvanas' board presence a lot weaker in terms of what he can get stolen. Excuse me.
From Jab's perspective, he's likely to just go for the Belcher and ignore the Sylvanas for right now. Because of that taunt ability, the Sylvanas might not be able to steal anything too valuable right now.
Unless Trump draws a Brawl.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. Oh my. I would have been ready to call the game over just here if he had that Brawl. Yeah,
right there would have been a huge swing for the board because Sylvanas is guaranteed to win the Brawl no matter what. Either she lives or she steals whatever lives. And that's a huge impact swing.
And Jab, right now he has all the minions on the board, the only spells in his hand. But if this board survives, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of this board remaining for the next turn, he does have the double roar. And how much damage is that right now?
2 roars with 12 damage on board.
Yeah, there's 16 each. I mean, it's lethal, is what it is.
Can he survive this by playing a Shield Maiden, maybe Fire War Axe, take out the slime?
Shield Maiden's going to bring him up to 29, and he's going to be taking, I think, 29 exactly.
See, 5 damage on the lore plus the 7, so that's 12. 12 plus 2 Savage
28, right? Because he's killing the slime.
Yeah, you're right.
Killing the slime.
That would be 29, I believe, because he gets the hero power and weave this in.
I mean, that's the power of Druid. It's one of the strongest burst finishes in the game. Savage Roar is just so efficient. If any minions stick, it's so much damage per mana. And Jab's going to do the math. I think he has it here.
Yeah, absolutely. He has it. Jab is going to take game 1.
Yeah, and as a result, the Sylvanas did not get a board impact play at all. Jab willed Savage Roar twice and take game number 1 over this Control Warrior deck from Trump.
Yeah, it looked like Trump was doing quite alright early on, but just that Sludge Belcher play right there. Trump did not have the Brawl and no ways to clear enough minions.